Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Rogue Wave podcast, the frequency for all things pop culture and the disruptors behind it. We talk comics, movies, TV, and pop culture every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on Facebook.com/WeAreRogueMatter. Look at that little change I just threw in there. Yeah, we're merging our Facebook pages into one gigantic Facebook page that is going to dominate the social media airwaves. Is that not the most exciting thing ever?
Are you speaking to me?
Well, you're the only one here.
I don't know. Sometimes you talk like there's like a whole bunch of people in the
That's
in the
very
room
true.
with
I
you.
do. You're absolutely
Yeah.
right.
So like I don't know if you're talking to me or not. Yeah. It's really exciting. I'm seriously excited about it.
That's the beauty of it. Like you kind of have to talk as if there's a large that you just do, and like whenever
I don't do
asks
that
about your company, you're like, yeah, even though it could be just like you.
I tend not to do that. I tend to just either speak directly to you or just talk to myself. You know, I don't really give a darn who's here, who's not here in that capacity.
Oh yeah?
Mm-hmm. You've seen me do it. You've seen me
I have
enact at that practice.
I have. And it's a skill I think that you possess, that only you possess.
What, talking to myself?
Yes.
Being able to primarily talk to myself as opposed to speaking to, anybody else or pretending to speak to hundreds of thousands of people who I don't know and can't see.
Correct.
I understand. All right. Okay, cool. I'll mark that down as a skill. I'm keeping that.
Yeah?
That's mine. I'm keeping that.
You should. I mean, why wouldn't you, right?
Why wouldn't I? Indeed.
This is my host, the Lord of the Radio, Mr. Hassan Godwin. How are you tonight, sir?
I'm good. Everything's good. Everything's wonderful.
I got a splinter in my hand. It's really annoying because what it is here, I'll show it you right there. It's in like a spot that's not noticeable until until I touch something, which doesn't happen very often, I've noticed. And then it sends shooting pains into my entire hand.
Yeah, splinters will do. Why don't you just?
I used a needle. I could not get it. It was not ready to come out. I was like stabbing myself. My brother-in-law, who's deathly afraid of needles, had to leave the room, and I still couldn't get it out.
That sucks. I've been there. Yeah. Not recently, but I've been there. It's a terrible place to be. I will never go again.
No?
There's no craft services or anything like that. It's terrible. It's a terrible place.
It's not a good one. What was good though?
What was
DC
good?
FanDome. DC FanDome.
Was it? Because I'm hearing different things. I'm hearing differently about DC FanDome. Even though that ruins your segue.
Yeah.
It
didn't ruin the nice transition that I normally do on the video though. So that's I'm cool with that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yes.
No, yeah, I agree with you. I heard the reason I'm saying it's great is because it gives us something to talk about, right? And I actually do like this. I like this more. We've had a lot of these discussions, and I actually do enjoy talking about what's coming up next more than actually watching or consuming anything that's on nowadays. I don't know why.
Yeah, me neither. Because I'm actually consuming the stuff that's on now.
Yeah,
and it'd be great to talk to you about some of this stuff, but I never can.
I just finished Ted Lasso season 2, so we could talk about that anytime you want to.
No, we don't.
Didn't like the ending. I got to tell you, I was a little.
That's got nothing to do with what our bailiwick is on the show. So
no, I agree.
It's
must watch TV. It's Ted Lasso, man. Emmy award-winning Ted Lasso. All right, we're gonna talk DC FanDome. We're gonna run through it. Honestly, it's a Batman's world. We're only living in it right now because out of everything that came out of DC FanDome, the big talk on the street was the Batman trailer. So we'll get into that in a little bit. We'll talk about that Flash trailer, which was highly disappointing. And
to you.
But first, we're going to dive into a little bit of Go Rogue and Go Home. We're going to talk Why the Last Man? Canceled. This is from Hollywood Reporter. It took 14 years to bring Brian K. Vaughan's beloved Why the Last Man to screen. And now that the show is finally airing, after a major recasting, a showrunner change, and even a move to a new platform, FX on Hulu abruptly canceled the drama Sunday after airing only 7 of its 10 planned episodes. So, basically...
Wait, so it didn't even come on last night?
What's that?
It didn't, the the 8th episode or whatever didn't even come on last night.
As far as it's aired only 7 of its planned 10 episodes. So yeah, didn't even finish out the run, which or maybe to date. Maybe it will because it's streaming and it's recorded. Like, why wouldn't they finish out the run? But one way or the other, not coming back. It has nothing to do apparently with viewership figures. But even though Hulu does not actually release the ratings, it was getting decent reviews. Nothing crazy, in terms of what was good and what was not. But ultimately, it kind of it stings when you're not allowed to get out of the gate. Mike O'Neill just said that they're airing their first full season. So yes, I would imagine they are.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
They are airing, yeah. But so as of the news, so the 8th season would come out.
The 8th episode.
The 8th episode. Well, the 8th season's never coming out. The 8th episode is coming out this coming Sunday. Steve Ovecki, by the way, friend of the show, who'll be on next week. Ted Lasso, brilliant.
What was the rest of what he said?
Too bad about why.
No.
Oh, he said, but not comics. But I announced on the show, I know you were here because we announced together that now that we're officially launched with Rogue Matter, we can talk about lots of different things now.
Okay.
We're not beholden anymore.
Right. Understood. We'll see how long that lasts.
So Mike O'Neill is stealing all of our thunder here, by the way. He's in the chat giving up all the trade secrets that were readily available on the internet, which I also pulled but have yet to actually say on the show.
It's because you're stalling for some reason.
Stop
lollygagging and do the job.
I am. There's no question I'm lollygagging.
Mm-hmm.
I got a splinter in my hand, my man. I'm just not.
I'm real sorry for you. I know. I feel bad.
Are you? I sense sarcasm in that.
My ass bleeds for you.
It doesn't. Wow, I didn't.
Yeah.
That was a bold move, Cotton.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Not the accurate quote, by the way. It's not. That's a bold strategy.
Yeah, I know. You're stalling again. I don't know what's going on. Don't know what's happening.
Sources
can't imagine it's fun listening to it.
FX Brass declined to pay $3 million to further extend options on the cast, and executives did not want to leave the cast in limbo after they had left them in limbo thanks to COVID, thanks to a showrunner change, thanks to all this stuff. The cancellation decision was, as per sources, not based on viewership figures. Sources say HBO Max is the likely target home for a potential second season, as its corporate parent Warner Media, which also owns DC, which obviously owned Vertigo. It makes sense if it was to go there. Because it actually really makes sense that it should go there, right? I mean, Hulu is owned by Disney, which is, the spearhead of Marvel. HBO Max is essentially DC programming, so it makes sense to go there. I still haven't watched past the first episode. Have you watched all 7?
Yep.
What are you thinking? What is your reaction to all 7?
None of your business.
I like it. Totally fair. It's a bold strategy for a talk show.
That's all I got is bold strategies.
Empty results. Bold strategies. Dead air.
Listen,
finishing Ted Lasso.
No one paid for results. They paid for strategies, not results.
I'll have a conversation with Steve Ovecki over chat as to why. Actually, no, we're gonna have him on next week. I'm gonna ask him all about Ted Lasso. It's gonna be fantastic.
Yeah, good.
Didn't like the ending of the season. Not happy at all about that. All right,
we're aware of that. This is the second time you told us.
Your reaction to why, when I first was telling you about it, even though you already knew, you were talking to other people about it, was that there's a glut of stuff on air, and I don't disagree with you at all. I figured that this, I don't know, this kind of show to me, which, don't get me wrong, love the comics, to me falls into that Doom Patrol obscure comic book adaptation, which can be very tricky, right? I mean, it's not something that, and the reason I use Doom Patrol, right, is I'm watching Doom Patrol. I like Doom Patrol. I don't know. I feel like this has an uphill battle to get viewers. And so I don't know. I think it's a challenge one way or the other, right? Like, is it worth HBO Max picking this back up again? Like, I don't know. It's a very challenging series to begin with. I mean, just evidenced by the fact that it was supposed to be a trilogy as a movie, and then it ended up becoming, a TV show that was going to be more or less adapted from Brian K. Vaughan's, and then it was kind of adapted to today's, Me Too and toxic masculinity climate. This is a tough nut to crack. I just wonder if another channel is going to want to invest in something this challenging.
It will be a mystery. We'll see. I don't know. Is that a question? Are you asking me a question or what?
Well, usually, generally, I will say things, and they will.
Yeah,
be very
genuinely,
insightful,
you will say things and you'll ramble on. Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. The show was canceled. It was a pretty good show. I enjoyed it, and maybe it'll be picked up by HBO Max. Who knows? I know. What are you asking me?
Is it worth it, having seen it, do you think, to continue this along?
I believe so. I'd like to see how the story ends.
Is it engaging you along the way?
Well, as we've just disclosed, I've seen every episode, right?
Sometimes, look, I collect a lot of comics that I've lost interest in, but I do it just because I've gone this far. I might as well see it through.
Why? But that's you. I know. Not me.
But I'm using my experiences to ask you a question as to, is it worth it? Are you just watching it because you want to see how it ends, or are you actually engaged in it? I mean, I think it's a very fair question.
Well, if I tell you I'd like to see how it ends, that kind of means I'm engaged. If I wasn't engaged, I wouldn't give a damn.
Yeah, but you're not describing how engaged you are.
You're not asking me how engaged I am.
All right,
you're asking me if I'm engaged. That's all.
I know. And you're very snarky with me today. My question then is, how engaged are you?
And because you know why. Anyway, look, I think I think it was a really good show. I'm not surprised it got canceled because everything kind of gets canceled. Nothing really lasts too long. It's not smart to get attached to any of the material we're getting these days. Either it gets canceled or it takes like 3 or 4 years for the next season to come out.
Yeah.
Nothing's on a schedule anymore. So, I think it's too bad. But if they get picked up by HBO Max, I'd be happy about it.
Yeah. Steve Ovecki says, I feel like new shows should drop all at once. The later seasons, they can take advantage of the long reveal by weekly drops based on the popularity. I love that idea, actually. I think that's actually a brilliant idea. First
that's a Netflix idea.
Yeah, but later seasons then do the episode drops, like the weekly episode drops.
Well, I mean, everybody wants that engagement. They want week-to-week engagement instead of, usually you drop one whole season, people binge it over the weekend, and then nobody talks about it anymore weeks after. It's almost like it never happened. So that's the scuttlebutt I hear. So that's why.
No, you're right in that sense. But it would be like a calculated investment in the show, where you kind of, you drop it all at once, you get to enjoy it, and you get the early buzz, right? And then season 2, you start dropping it in weeks, so that this way you get, the added.
Yeah, but then you get people, you get the fandom who's annoyed that you dropped everything all at once, and now you're trying to milk them, by coming back week after week. And then a lot of people will do what Steve Ovecki does, is just not watch until it's all finished anyway, and then binge it all, in which case they don't get the engagement and they don't get the ratings either way. Yeah. So it doesn't make any sense either way. Just drop them all at once, or I don't know. Look, it's a crapshoot, right? It's a lottery game, no matter what. Some of the best shows in the world have been prematurely canceled or gone the way of the dodo bird for no reason, or for weird machinations behind the scenes, and this and that. So, I mean, who knows?
Last question. We've had this show and Jupiter's Legacy, one season comic book adaptions, to date unsuccessful, right? Is this a trend for comic books? Is this for comic book adaptations? Is this something? Are you concerned in that sense of, has the bubble burst?
Well, aren't we talking about DC FanDome? Didn't they just launch like Doom Patrol season 3, and isn't Superman and Lois going into season 2 on WB? I mean, What are you talking about?
Well, is this a
I mean,
lesson?
these are two shows out of quite a number of shows that are still going. So I don't understand the question.
Well, you understand it. You're just not.
I don't. Okay,
You know.
no. There's my answer.
Look at that. I mean, you understood the question. It's very easy. You could do it. All right. DC
Clearly.
FanDome. I agree with you. Not much buzz on this, on the internets, on the interwebs, aside from the Batman trailer, which we'll get into. You forwarded me along the Flash trailer.
I did.
Which I got to tell you, highly disappointed on that.
Yes,
highly disappointed in that trailer.
This is the second time you said it on this broadcast.
Before
why?
we get to it,
you elaborate as to why?
I will. Yes, I will in one second.
All over it.
The only other thing that I thought was noteworthy was that Patty Jenkins confirmed Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman 3. It's not really that noteworthy. We kind of all assumed that was going to happen, even though 2 was less than subpar, in my opinion. And Pennyworth gets a 3rd season and a move to HBO Max. And then there was a lot of animation stuff.
Wait a minute. Pennyworth gets a 3rd season, so doesn't apply that to your previous question?
Yeah, it's still a question.
What predicates that question, though? You know, you had to. I mean, people don't even remember Jupiter's Legacy. That was like 6 months ago.
I know.
And you're applying Jupiter's Legacy and this that may or may not get picked up by another network.
Might.
And then you're asking if that's the fate of all adaptations. But there's several adaptations that are running currently as we speak. So I mean, what predicates that? Never mind. All right. Keep going.
I think it's not a dumb question, right? We've now had 2 comic book adaptations featuring challenging material, mind you, that have now seemingly both been canceled after a first season. Just because it might end up at HBO Max doesn't mean it will end up at HBO Max. Something could happen to where the cast can't do it, and or HBO Max might say, we don't want to really adapt it. This just is too much. We'd rather just have a bunch of people in costumes hitting each other, right? So it might be what it might be doing is now saying what is on the minds of executives and saying, you know, maybe we need to just stick with flashy costumes, people beating each other up.
That wasn't your question. That wasn't that's not remotely the question you asked me. So I mean, that's a nuance
you dismissed the
to
initial
a potential
opening of the question.
Because the initial opening, I mean, I know what's on television right now, and I know what's coming out. So it seemed kind of bizarre to me to ask that question, where like 2 obscure comic book adaptations got canceled, right? 6 months apart from each other, and then you're asking if this is a trend that's going to destroy all comic books on television. Like that's. I mean, we're getting Umbrella Academy season 3. I mean, we're like a number of things are happening. So, like, what are you talking about?
Okay, it's just questions. I'm allowed to ask questions, aren't I? Yes. And see how I opened up into a much deeper conversation that you now are like, well, you didn't ask me that. Well, yeah, I was getting to that. See?
Okay.
Gotta let things unfold.
That's not how that went down. But okay. Okay, I'm supposed to be dumb and not realize that you just changed the nuance of the question when you're rephrasing it, but and then you blame me for cutting you off before you could explain yourself. But I'm
not blaming you for cutting me off. That's a very weak interpretation as well.
You're padding this, dude. Like we could just have a discussion about the material that we're seeing. Like let's just talk about the material.
All right, Flash trailer.
What's wrong with the Flash trailer?
I want to see every time it looked like they were going to show him in costume or show the Batmobile. They cut away. They cut away. It's very annoying. I'm watching this thing because I want to see the money shot, which we'll get to in the next segment as well too, of Michael Keaton in the Batman suit again. No, they're not going to give it to me. So I'm going to give it a poor review and a poor reaction for not giving me what they never promised to give me in the first place. But they did kind of really tease it. It's a very teasing trailer without delivering the one thing I want to see.
Okay. All right. I suppose that's fair.
Do you now? I just asked a question. You can elaborate on that. See how that works? I'm just kidding. That wasn't a real question. That was just me being a jerk.
I know, man. I'm trying to figure this whole thing out.
We've been doing this for too long. How do you need to figure anything out?
I don't know. Yeah, I can see your point, but I mean, it did confirm that Michael Keaton is involved in some way.
Sure.
So I mean, there's that. That's beyond the rumor mill, right? We got actual confirmation that he might be involved, right? So
sure.
That's kind of cool. But I see why you didn't like it. That's fine. That's fair.
I just, honestly, are you thrilled for, I'll even say, would you be? Are you excited for if Flash had nothing to do with the Batmen in it, right? All the different multiverse and all that other stuff, right? If it was just a Flash movie, would you be really remotely excited for this? Are you into that character?
I mean, Flash is not my number one character, but I would go see. It's a comic movie, so yeah, I'd be interested in it. I mean, if it looked good and it had good buzz behind it, and I was interested, I'd be interested in going to see it, just like all the others that I've seen. I'm not a Wonder Woman reader, but I went to see both the Wonder Woman movies. Or Shazam. I actually didn't like Shazam. From the onset, just from the trailers that we got, from the teasers that we got, the original one. I thought the jokes weren't funny, and I thought he looked terrible in that suit. I still went to see it, and I was still surprised that I enjoyed it. I'm gonna go see it because they're comic book movies, and I like the genre, and I'm gonna go see them because I want to be entertained.
Does your level of interest though vary? Just like is it flat? I'm not joking here. I'm actually I'm asking a legit question here. Like, is there equal excitement for just because it's a comic book movie for different characters or
no? I mean, it comes and goes. It varies.
Yeah.
Like I'm more interested in seeing the Batman movie than I am to see the Flash movie.
Okay.
Sure. But I will see both movies,
Yeah.
But what's that got to do with anything though?
No, I mean,
like some characters are your favorites and some characters are just, peripherals that you know about.
Right.
But, so you're not going to kill someone to go see it, but, you still, if you get an opportunity, you still go see it.
Agreed. But I would sit there and tell you if it took a storyline like the one that they're doing with Flash to make me interested in this Flash movie. Like normally it would just be a character that I don't mind.
Oh, so you're saying you're not interested?
Yes.
Okay. That's a different story.
I am interested because of the storyline they chose to go with for Flash. That storyline wasn't there. Not saying they couldn't come up with a storyline that might be of more interest to me, but if it was Flash versus his archenemy, whatever archenemy that might be, right? Who's the so again, I'm not a DC guy in general, like I'm a Marvel guy, so I know the Marvel villains and stuff, but who's the big Flash villain? Do you know? I mean, I'm just putting you on the spot here. I'm not trying to
Reverse Flash.
Yeah,
there's a number of
that
villains.
Is his name, right? I actually wanted to say that, but I didn't want to sound stupid, right? I was like, it can't be called Reverse Flash.
Or Yellow Flash. Look, I get what you're saying, but like where we always come to loggerheads, and I'm like, why are you even speculating that? Is that the case? Are you disinterested in going to see the Flash movie?
Yeah, I would have no interest, but now they
no, you would or wouldn't if X,
Y, if it was like
Z,
Flash versus Reverse Flash, I'd go. Yeah, I would go because it's in our genre, and I would enjoy it as a geek, not a nerd, because again, not a DC guy, so I'm not like it's not like I've been dying to see Kid Flash in a movie finally, or whatever, whoever might be in it, right? Just spouting characters.
Too many parameters on this stuff. Like either you want to go or you don't. Like either you want to see it or you don't want to see it. Or like
no, I don't think that's true. Actually, that's very clear cut, right?
Yeah, but if it's an aspect of your job, then you have to go see
Correct.
it, right? So then why complicate the necessity of seeing it with whether you want to see it or not? You obviously have to see it. So, it's like eating. You don't want these peas, but you have to eat the peas so that you could get dessert, right? So why
worry about the peas? That doesn't mean I can't be more excited for a slice of pizza.
I understand what you're saying, but you're wondering about your level of excitement on a hypothetical. it's already intrigued you enough so that you would want to go see it. And now your question is, what if it didn't intrigue me? Would I be going to see it? But I mean, like, of what use is that line of thinking? It is. So you're going to go see it. If it was a complex, if there was a level of complexity to the point where you didn't want to go see it, and now everybody else wants to go see it, and you're stuck kind of not wanting to see it, I can understand us discussing it. But you want us to discuss a hypothetical. I don't know how to argue a hypothetical.
The reason I bring that up though is because I'm just again validating why I didn't like this trailer. Right?
I get that. I mean, I agreed with you. Okay. I sympathized with you on it. Yeah. Right? So
no, but then I was genuinely curious though, how into this character are you? That was essentially what the question was. Like, how excited for this character are you in general? Like, it can't. I mean, maybe it can be, but it can't just be flat. Like, you love this character just as much as any other character. No, you said as much. So that was kind of what I was saying, though. This character in general, to me, has a niche audience more than than say people who love Batman.
Flash has a niche audience
compared to the audience that likes the Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman. Right? Those are the big three from Justice League. From DC.
You're talking about just moviegoers then?
Yes.
Not comic book fans.
No, I would say moviegoers, right? I don't think there's, the person who has never stepped foot in a comic book store but claims they love everything that, like I'm a big Marvel fan, right? But they've never actually read a comic book in their life. Same people. I'm a big DC fan, but, I love Batman, but, they've never read a comic book.
Well, where are these people coming from in this scenario? Like, how are these people entering into the scenario? There. Yeah, but I don't understand what's your point about that? Like
this character to me,
because I mean he's had a show on for 7 years, right? So obviously he's got some mainstream
crossover
viability, right?
Sure.
So, and this is the second Flash television show in existence in our lifetime, right? So I don't understand. Like, what are you talking about?
I'm saying this guy barely interests me. I want to see some Batman. That's it. I want to see some Batman. And this trailer did not do that for me.
All right. Fair enough.
Very upset with it.
Understood.
You know what trailer got me?
If I were you, I would be upset also. If I were you.
Do you know what trailer got me excited, though?
Which trailer got you excited? Is it the Batman trailer? Was that what got you? What about the Aquaman trailer? Teaser.
Yeah.
Did you see the Aquaman teaser, Michael?
It was like a teaser, though. It really wasn't a trailer.
Was it? How long was it?
It was very short.
Was it short?
Yes.
I don't think you saw the teaser then.
No? It was like behind the scenes from Aquaman, though.
Yeah.
That's not. I put that in a different category.
You do. You put it in a different category?
Yeah,
all right.
Behind the scenes look. It was...
it was concept art and all kinds of stuff, and the release date, and who was involved, and who's going to be in the movie, and what the movie was
like a new
about.
Black Manta, I know. Not a new.
Well, he's not new. He's
not
got
new.
a new
I know,
suit.
no, not new, but like he's gonna, no, I know. No, I want an official trailer. That was it behind the scenes. It's totally different. Now, when we come back, Batman trailer reaction. I want to know your money shot, your cringeworthy moment. I want to know your makes you go and more when we return. Welcome back to the Rogue Wave podcast. All right. This is a Batman world, and we're all just living in it. The big talk of DC FanDome, from what I read anyway, was the Batman trailer. Robert Pattinson. Hassan, give me your immediate reaction to what you saw.
look, the imagery was very beautiful. But it's another Batman. So I mean, yeah. That was my initial reaction. It's like, all right, we're gonna do this again. I'm into it. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Now, to your question about hypotheticals,
Mm-hmm.
about a level of what engagement, whether of interest and stuff like that. If this was the Affleck Batman getting his own movie, I'd be 10 times more excited than I am. I have nothing against Robert Pattinson. I think he's going to do a good job, a great job. In spite of whatever those overabundant rumors are about whether or not he and the director actually like each other and blah blah blah, whatever. I think it's nonsense. I think he looks good in the role. I think but I mean, look, it's another Batman. I heard someone else say, and I'm going to say this incorrectly. I'm going to have to paraphrase it. The more and more reboots you do, the more you dilute and ruin all the other iterations that came before it, right? Because it's just constantly being repositioned and reimagined. And so whereas I am excited to see the Batman movie in general, as you said, I'm more excited about seeing Aquaman and the Flash, because those guys haven't had as much saturation as Batman has, so like, I'm sure the movie is going to be good, but at this point, what new exciting thing could we possibly be seeing from Batman at this point?
Yeah, I agree with that. I actually got a more of a Burton feel when I was watching it. It felt a little bit more like this could exist in the Tim Burton world than the Christopher Nolan one, even though it had a lot of elements from Christopher Nolan, the grittiness, the toughness, the dirt, the grime. It seemed like it was an amalgam of the two. But that's an interesting point you make, though, right? The reboot syndrome, right? Now, obviously, DC's explaining this with the multiverse, which I like as a concept, right? Because it unifies in both the Marvel universe and the DC universe. It unifies iterations that came before, right? In a story method. Say what you will about the execution of it. I'm not, we don't know yet, but at least it gives us this. How can all these Batmen exist in all these universes, right? Same with Spider-Man. There's Tobey Maguire, there's Andrew Garfield, now there's this. So at least it gives you, if you've been doing this as long as we have with 20 years of watching this stuff, it gives us an explanation to it. That being said, it's amazing to me how the movie business, after Kevin Feige finally figured out how to do it, how to take what we've already experienced in comics, and I don't just mean the actual storylines, but how continuity works and how an interconnected universe works, brought it over to movies, and have now gotten moviegoers, educated in the same way we as comic book readers were educated. And now, because we're so far into this now, 20 years later, maybe even more if you count Tim Burton's Batman, we're almost 40, no, not 40, almost 32 years old.
1989 was Tim Burton's Batman.
No, I know. So I was thinking like 32. So we're almost we're over 30 years into
not almost
into this. No, yeah, we are over. We're over 32 years into this. How we've been able to now,
and that's not you counting Superman.
That's a good point. It's a very good point. Now we are absolutely over 40 years into this. But I would sit there and say
1978.
Superman to me exists. Look, in actual time, yes, I agree with you. It's over 40 years ago. But the concept of superhero movies, I almost kind of group the original Superman and the original Batman kind of in one group. And then in the 2000s, I think to me is like the second. It's almost like Superman and Batman were the golden age of comic book movies. You have the 2000s with X-Men and Blade, and Spider-Man is the Silver Age, and now we're in the modern age with what Marvel has been able to pull off and DC has been trying to ape the whole time. And it's just funny watching. Now people are talking about, again, and you just said it's a great point though, diluting what has come before, and it's like, yeah, it's exactly what happens. Exactly what happens when you kill the X-Men 5 times over right before you're about to relaunch them in Hickman's run. It negates the runs that Colin Bunn did and Matthew Rosenberg did, just to use an example in recent times. You know, when you're going to reboot Spider-Man a million times, it's going to negate, you know, the great work that David Michelini did and with Mark Bagley and Todd McFarlane and all those stuff. I mean, it's going to dilute, you know, it's always looking for the next fan, because that is what this movie is representing, right? This is for the next generation of kids that, you know, were very young when Christopher Nolan's Batman movies came out. I mean, it'll be over 10 years since the last one. So it's not as if, you know, time hasn't passed in between, although you had Ben Affleck in between, but he didn't get his own solo movie. So yeah, I think it's a great point. I think it is. What was your money shot? What was the one part of this trailer that did get you kind of, you know, hyped up or made you walk away?
That's kind of what my point is. Like nothing really. Like, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it was completely unexciting, but it was nothing I looked at and went, wow, I've never seen that in a Batman. You know, that looks amazing. You know, I can't wait to see how that all fits into whatever the storyline is, you know? So that's what I mean. That's why I'm taking this position. I don't hate it. I'm not against it whatsoever. I'm not even against the kids, you know, the kids, you know, who were too young to see the older movies, for them to have their own Batman. For that, I you know, that's fine. I mean, time passes us by. It's not enough to excite us, but it's certainly enough to excite the kids. Yeah. Fine with me, you know.
Steve Ovecki just said the upside down walk. That was actually my money shot. There's a lot of times when, you know, that last scene in a trailer, it just doesn't hit, it doesn't drop. But this one did. That was the one scene I thought was pretty cool. I enjoyed my immediate reaction when I thank you for asking. My immediate reaction.
I was in the middle of explaining, but you know, okay. you go ahead. You elaborate now.
I will.
I'll listen.
I will.
I'll happily not say anything else because I'm not talking.
The opening of it, I was actually kind of excited. Like all of a sudden, it kind of gave me a little goosebumps. By the middle of it, I agree with you though, where I was like, this is exactly what I was afraid of. I've seen this all before. I kind of, you know, there was enough elements of Nolan and enough elements of Burton where I was like, I kind of seen this before. And then by the end, I was like, all right, that's still pretty damn cool. You know, that still is kind of like Batman.
Well, yeah, okay, but I mean, he walked upside down, and you got all weeby, right? So obviously, that's your big thing. You're gonna go see it now, right?
Oh yeah,
it's your big, you know. All right, excellent. Well, that's good.
What was your cringeworthy moment or moments?
I'm trying to tell you, like, all right, I understand that this is a segment, this is a piece, and I'm not trying to fight it, but I'm trying to tell you. The whole thing just came out as a blank to me. You know, like okay, like you talk about the Flash. Like the Flash didn't have any sizzle, you know, to it by any stretch of the imagination. But I mean, there was intrigue in like, okay, what are they trying to, you know, what's the story like? What are they trying to say? Whatever. And Mike Keaton's voice, blah blah blah. Same with Aquaman. You know, it's like, all right, you know, like there's not a lot of the movie here, but like. You get to hear about Momoa's passion for it, and the director's really excited for it, and they show you one or two sequences, and you're like, oh, all right, this, you know, these guys, this is not fly by night. These guys are, you know, these guys are invested. So the Batman thing, I mean, it looks good, but I've been hearing about it for almost 2 years, and then I'm seeing him swing on a vine and beat a whole bunch of people up and scream. You know, all right, that's new. Okay, Batman screaming, so that's new, and I'm like, okay, sure, but. As I said, it's Batman again. The imagery is even the same.
Yeah.
You know, it's even in the same lighting. It's even got the same color palette, with the exception of Joel Schumacher. You know, they've all had the same color palette. Sure. You know, they've all so. You know, it just kind of just faded into the scenery for me.
Was this more of a more or less of a reaction than I know you mentioned it with Flash, but you would actually put the Flash trailer ahead of this trailer then?
No, no, I think it's a better trailer, and I think it's probably going to be a more interesting movie. I'm probably more interested to see it than the Flash. But I'm saying as far as the material that they showed me that day,
Mm-hmm.
I watched all the materials, and the stuff that stood out to me were things I had not seen before.
Yeah.
And that is not anything in a Batman trailer.
Yeah.
It just isn't, Now, I'm a huge fan of the Ben Affleck Batman, ironically. So if he had been in that trailer,
yeah,
my answer to you would have been, I'm just so happy Ben Affleck's gonna, that Batman's gonna get his entire run.
Yeah.
Is gonna get some, and that's probably not gonna happen. I don't have anything against Pattinson. I think he's gonna do a great job. But all right. But I've already been burned by Batman, though.
Mm-hmm.
Because the previous three Batmen, I am one of the very few, the vocal minority that did not like those movies.
Yeah.
So, is what it is.
Felt like Affleck got cheated, huh? I mean, this was supposed to be his movie, right? It was that was supposed to be him. He was supposed to write and direct, and
yeah, but I mean, it fell through. It didn't work out.
I know.
So I mean, that's to be expected. It's too bad, but I mean, he's not. I mean, he's fine. Affleck's still a millionaire, so like it doesn't really. He's not destroyed, no, and he got his kind of.
Dating Jennifer Lopez is good.
They all got their kind of day with the Snyder Cut. The reimagining of Snyder Cut. Sure. For a very short time. There was some, reinforced buzz about like reigniting the Snyderverse and all those characters. So. I mean, that he could probably ride that for a little while, yeah. Even if he doesn't get a full movie on his own.
What would it take, and you might not have an answer to this, as I'm, just curious. What would it take in a Batman trailer, like, where you would stop and say, oh, wow, okay, this is something, because at this point, I don't know what else they could do at this point, right? Unless they revisit the Adam West, Bat-2C. From a visual standpoint, from a story standpoint, is there anything you can think of where it would move you more than what you just saw in this trailer?
From this standpoint, I would just be appreciative of consistency.
Okay.
Right. You got Heath Ledger's Joker, and then you got what's his name's Joker from Suicide Squad, mm-hmm. And then you got Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, and now you got another Batman. You got the Affleck Batman, and you got the Nolan Batman, and you got the Michael Keaton Batman, who apparently is still in play somehow. Like, yep. Right? So, like, if you would just give me a Batman that you're going to stick with for the next few years,
yeah,
and that you're going to tell a full-fledged story, and imagine some of those comic book stories like Death in the Family, mm-hmm. or the Court of Owls, like some real substantial Batman lore, as opposed to flirting with the Dark Knight Returns over and over and over again, that imagery,
mm-hmm.
Which seems to be the only imagery that anybody is interested in adapting, sure. For some reason, then yeah, I would be excited. I'd be excited to see a Batman. Like, I would be excited to see the Bat family, you know, like the complex dynamic, between Dick Grayson and Bruce Wayne and Barbara Gordon, that kind of situation.
Sure.
This stuff where the guy's flipping off of roofs and the batarang over a steeple and flying through the air and playing music and everybody go, oh, all right, yeah. That seems like Batman. That's Batman fair, but that's not exciting to me.
Yeah.
That's like watching Superman,
fly.
That's like watching people empty a gun into Superman, and he's standing there like smiling at you, while you're wasting all your ammunition. It's cool because it's indicative or it's resonant of imagery that we grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
It's not telling me anything. It's not a story. It's not moving. So no. I would be more excited about if they were doing a Batman TV show. I'd be more excited if they were doing a Batman TV show that they insisted was going to adapt some of their greatest stories on Batman, right? And then it started out, with a really faithful adaptation of some of these other storylines. I would be more excited for that because I mean, Batman, the imagery of Batman doesn't. When you get over that very quickly, it's the story, the dynamic of the relationships between the characters. That's what's more interesting.
Yeah,
right?
I would say though you do get, because I did get very like I said, I got the goosebumps a little bit when you get that initial, cape flying in the wind kind of thing. I mean, it's almost like, as an artist, like what would you draw when you were doodling in a notebook in class? It's always like I don't know. I always just draw the cape and the swinging the, because there's like just a coolness about that. But I do agree, it wears off. At
the
some
rule
point.
of cool though, that's what everybody's using. The rule. I'm not even. I've not seen the movie. I can't disparage it. I can't talk about like good things or bad things about the movie. I'm only talking about the trailer.
Yeah.
As pertains to the rule of cool, the trailer hits all the right notes. Right. Everything in it looked really cool. But I don't know. Are they making the movie with the rule of cool, or is there a story behind it? Is there substance behind it? This could be, and I stand, ready to admit this. This could be the greatest Batman they've ever made. Yeah. I could go, as far as I'm concerned, at least, I could go in that theater and go, oh my God, I the heck with every other Batman that came before it. It's gone. This is the thing.
Yeah.
This is the thing.
Yeah.
And we have to make at least 5 more of these before before Pattinson decides he's not interested in doing it anymore. Right. But like, look, as pertains to a trailer. All right. Looks like Batman. Let's see what happens.
All right.
Hoorah.
Just real quick, my cringeworthy moment was Bruce Wayne's hair. Still don't like it. Not happy with that. And the thing that made me go, was very weird to have the Riddler kind of like foreshadowed and then never get back to him in the trailer. Just have that question in the cup, and then at no point do they gonna kind of go back to it. I like the Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman, kind of like.
It's just a trailer though. Like I never understand what people are expecting when they see a trailer. Like, wow, how come they didn't go back? It's not like you watched the entire movie and they hinted the Riddler in Act 1, and by Act 3 in the credits roll, and you're like, hey, what happened to the Riddler?
It's odd to do it at the beginning of the trailer. That's why. To do that so that's the thing. Do that as the money shot, right? Reverse the two and end with the Riddler, and it leaves you with, oh, all right, I kind of see. All right, now you got me intrigued. It starts, and you'd be like,
oh, why would they show me the? Why would they show me the Riddler at the end of the? And they didn't show me anything in the trailer. Like, that's not fair. That's the next thing that you would say. That's the reverse of what you would say if they had done it your way. Then you'd be like, man, I really wish there was more Riddler in the trailer, because they only tease him at the very end. A tease is going to be a tease no matter where it comes.
It's a money shot though. At the end, it becomes like the coup de resistance.
No. If it's just a tease, it's just a tease. The money shot can't be a tease. That's not how those things work. So if they did the exact...
It would have been. I'm just saying, if they reverse the two, it's fine. It just, when you start off, you think you're going to get more about the subject that they're doing. They show Catwoman repeatedly, right? Zoe Kravitz looks great. I think just from a visual standpoint, I'm kind of interested in her character a little bit. But that being said, I'm not, nothing that I saw made me, didn't move the needle more than just, look at that. That's nice. She looks the part. We'll see where it goes. But to start out the trailer with the question mark and then to not, bring it in, I don't know. Even for a trailer, that's poor execution. And made me go,
Obviously not, because it's the biggest trailer of the last like 6 or 7 months. So, it won fandom, or FanDome.
Is that... So. Well, yeah, but it's also a comparative thing, right? I mean, what other trailers are out? What other characters bigger than Batman? I mean, I think just having the characters, Batman's.
We don't have the metrics of that though. We have the metrics for this particular trailer, and it beat out all the other trailers, and it had generated buzz for at least 3 solid days. So it was interactively viable for actually, that long. So obviously it was a hit, by the metrics that we have.
Doesn't
not the hypothetical could have been.
Doesn't mean that
it is what it is.
Follow the right formula though. That's all.
Well, like, how do you measure success?
We'll see how the movie is, but in terms of
no. I mean, we're just talking about the trailer. How would you measure success? How is it wrong if it was successful?
It's wrong because I can still critique it as a piece of art, even if it's just 2 minutes long.
If you didn't like it, that makes perfect sense. But you said it was wrong. You said they shouldn't have done that. So I'm just saying, but if it was a successful trailer that trended and got them the buzz that they wanted,
in spite of.
How do you know that, though?
The glaring error that they made. Because that's my opinion. Why would I?
Oh, that's different. That's very different. Okay. I understand what you're saying now. That's how you feel.
Yeah.
It's not really how it is. That's just how you feel about it.
It still doesn't follow a good formula. I mean, there's no question about that.
But the trailers are formulaic. No, there can be formulaic trailers, but then trailers have been proven to be sort of formulaic. They're very fluid.
Trailers are also, I mean, at the end of the day, meaningless, right? I mean, unless it's something that.
But what was this segment about?
We got Batman in a costume. I'm just saying it's meaningless in terms of what the overall outcome of the film is going to end up being, right? I mean, you can have a great trailer and the film could be trash, right? You can have the worst trailer you've ever seen, and then people go see the movie, and then they talk about it and go, "You got to see."
Best trailer I've ever seen was to one of the worst movies I've ever seen. So yeah.
Which one?
The trailer for Pearl Harbor.
Oh yeah, terrible film.
For Michael Bay's Pearl Harbor. But that trailer is amazing. Look that trailer up on YouTube. It's an amazing trailer.
Oh yeah,
absolutely amazing trailer.
Yeah. All right.
Terrible movie.
What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments. We will continue commenting along. We've got Rob Malteri, a up-and-coming Kickstarter creator. He's got a new book called Snowpaw coming up next. We're going to dive into it. What makes a successful Kickstarter? What makes werewolves cool? Werewolves are just awesomely cool. If you are interested in a fantasy book meets werewolf adventure with beautiful art, you definitely want to check out the interview we've got coming up next. Welcome back to the Rogue Wave podcast. Happy to be joined by Rob Malteri, creator of Snowpaw, live on Kickstarter right now. Rob, how you doing, sir?
Good. How you doing?
We're hoping for a Mog Park appearance as well too. We'll see. We'll technical difficulties. We'll keep our fingers crossed if we can get her in on this. Talk to us about Snowpaw. Elevator pitch. I'm at a convention. I'm at your table. What are you telling me right now to help me buy this book?
All right, sounds good. Yeah, so Snowpaw. If you love stories about Scottish female characters, strong leads, supernatural beings, fantasy, werewolves, fairies, demons, witches, and all that great stuff, then Snowpaw is a series for you. In 19th century Scotland, a fierce heroine with an adventurous spirit nearly gives into the social expectations of her time, but a trite fairy tale ending is not meant to be, as Cyrilla McKinley discovers that she is born a werewolf and her eyes are open to the existence of supernatural creatures and beings of fantasy.
Awesome. So out of all the monsters, vampires and werewolves, I'm a big fan. Like Monster Squad. Remember Monster Squad?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Hassan, you're shaking your head. Come on, Monster Squad. We did a whole thing about it. By the way, didn't live up to my childhood
because I didn't want to talk about Monster Squad.
You didn't.
That's why I was shaking my head.
let me preface. Monster Squad is a little different than what your book is, right? Your book is more like Lord of the Rings fantasy style stuff. Yeah. My point being, though, I always had an affinity for vampires and werewolves, and obviously your story has werewolves. How does your story about werewolves in a fantasy setting, kind of break convention from what people might expect from a werewolf story?
So typically, like in like normal werewolf situations, they're cursed or bitten or whatever, and they become these snarling beasts against their will, and then have totally lost control of their humanity. And usually is on the night of the full moon. Whereas in my series, it's more of they're born that way. They're creatures of nature. They have a little bit of a magical connection to nature, as well as they have their own deity gods, kind of like pagan gods, if you will. And particularly with these werewolves, they're kind of like an off breed of the main sect of werewolves that kind of went down more of a religious path. There's like you have a good and evil situation where like you're either born like a purebred, which is like wholly good, or you're born a mongrel, which is an evil, sinful creature. But they all still have they can change at will. They still have their own personality throughout they can talk. They can change from they could do from human to werewolf to a wolf form, so they can kind of go between the different shapes. They also have a kind of like a power that they each have, sort of like a mutant power, if you will. So that's kind of like more the fantasy idea behind it, giving it more of like something interesting than just like the savage feral beast. Because I feel like werewolves and wolves in general get a bad rap because they always like use those as like the bad guys, right?
Sure.
Even like Disney loves to do this. They like, in Frozen, whenever they're being chased by the wolves, and they kick the wolf in the head, I'm like, oh, come on.
I take it you're a dog lover then too.
I do. I have I had 3. I have 2 now. One passed away.
I didn't even know that was the case, but I knew it was the case.
I'm a big dog. I grew up with Labradors. Huskies, I've always loved the look of them. Just the whole shedding thing and the constantly. I don't know if you've ever heard a husky just constantly whining. That kind of gets a bit annoying. But now I have a bulldog and a chihuahua.
They're like having kids. Then you have a real kid, which they're all children. I have a dog too.
They all have their personalities.
Yeah.
So, do you have a preference of a vampire or werewolf? Do you
definitely a werewolf? Yeah, werewolf over vampire any day. I mean, don't get me wrong. I do love a good vampire story. But yeah, I definitely would choose the werewolf side.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of really good werewolf like movies, at least movies and comic books. There's not a lot of great werewolf stuff. So
exactly, and that's why I was like, that was one main reason why I went down this path, is because I've always wanted one. I wanted to read something that I enjoyed, that in my vision of what they looked like or in what they, acted like. A lot of times they get these really grotesque looking things after they've changed. One, it could have been just because like at the time the movie, props and magic wasn't quite there, right? Or and the CG stuff usually looked too fake, and then like, or you just have the guy who's basically got hair and makeup and kind of just looks like me who needs a shave, So it's kind of like I in my aesthetic for a werewolf is that they're more that they have like the wolf's head, still have like mostly human form, but like with the fur completely through, and then they have like the paws, like almost like a hybrid between the paws and the fingers, with the pads and claws, and then like they have like, kind of like that a canine like bent like legs to down
inverted the inverted legs.
So that's kind of like more like the aesthetic that I for me that I think I prefer with doing that werewolf characters, and kind of just no one was really doing that,
right?
And especially in comic book form. I've seen it in different medias, just not so much TV or movies, but I have seen it maybe like in video games or like some animations, but just in general, like I was growing up reading comics and I wanted to see a comic book like that, and I never did. So I said, screw it, I'll do it.
That's actually the best way sometimes for like ideas to come about. It's like, I want this, it's not here. All right, I'll do it myself. And that's like the entire spirit of like the indie comic, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So it's a fantasy-based book, so you ended up getting, I think, one of the best fantasy-based artists I could think of in Mog Park, who had done. She's done some work for Rogue Matter as well. She did some alternate covers. She did some alternate covers for me for the Sire. She's amazing. How did you lock her in? And is this really like this? It just seems like right up her alley with her previous Game of Thrones work that she had done.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, that's the crazy thing about it. Like I had when I was looking for artists, I kind of remember when I was looking for my Nightwolf artist, Carlos. It took a long time to finally reach out and find him. So that whole going down that whole artist search again was so I kind of kept it in the back of my mind while working on the Nightwolf issues with Carlos. And then I had been following Mog because I've seen some of her comic art and her sketch covers with the awesome samurai-esque X-Men and other superheroes, Batgirl, stuff like that. And then I found out that she also had done Game of Thrones art, which I was a big fan of the show. And you can't really see it, but I got a bunch of crap back there blocking it. But I have Longclaw, the sword hanging on my wall back there.
Cool.
I was Jon Snow for Halloween one year. And,
just 1 year.
So, I mean, any chance I get, but there was 1 year where that was every Halloween party, every bar, I wore that costume and I had that sword on, as any chance I could.
I'm a big fan of the easy costume for Halloween, just whatever's the easiest thing to put on.
Jon Snow's not
most times I do.
No.
I pulled the Gerald Dixon thing, just put on a vest and or the Negan with the leather jacket. I've done that.
And a bat. Yeah. Just grab a bat or a crossbow and you're all good.
Yeah.
Accessories are underrated for Halloween costumes. Accessories like a bat, that goes a long way.
Very versatile. But yeah, I mean, for me, I prefer. Usually, I do the quick, easy ones. But when I am going to invest in a costume, I will. I won't. It's not full on cosplay because obviously I can't afford all the grand details.
That's a whole other thing anyway. You don't want to get involved in that.
Oh yeah. Exactly.
You're too busy making comics. That would pull you away from the comic book making.
Exactly. I got too much time and money invested in these artists.
Yeah. So, talk to us about doing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to finish how Mog, got involved. So I had been following her, and then so I was doing a live signing with Henri Campan with the artist shopping channel that they both are a part of, and on Facebook. And then so he had a bunch of he bought a bunch of copies of Nightwolf off me, and I had signed them and sent them to him. And he sold pretty much all of most of those. And she had bought the first 2 issues off of him, and then she had to buy the remaining issues off of me. And that's kind of how we kind of got connected. And she, her and her husband Mel, both, were posting about how much they enjoyed the series and how they were vested in it. And so I was like, yes. So how about I have this idea for a spinoff. The female character Snowpaw is Nightwolf's mentor in his series. So I had been planning to do her origin story, which is 200 years prior to the events of Nightwolf. And so I said female werewolf, 19th century Scotland, fantasy, hybrid with supernatural stuff. And she was like, yeah, I'm in.
That's awesome. Now, doing the Kickstarter, I love asking these questions because I think a lot of people want to do Kickstarters, but they don't exactly understand the work that's been, that goes into it. Now, this is the 6th Kickstarter you've done. What were the 5 previous that you had worked on? And it doesn't have to be, just give me a general overview. If it was the same series, single issues, where is this in the next line of things? And then I have a question after that.
Yeah, sure. So this one particularly is for a new series. Again, it's the spinoff and origin story for Snowpaw. The previous ones were so my first one was a failed Kickstarter that I had done for Nightwolf issue 1 through 3. At the time, I set a $20,000 goal with no audience. So this is me like not knowing the game, just being like, oh hey, people fund on Kickstarter, cool, I'll go do that, right? Not knowing anything, just had 5 pages of the first issue and a cover with several character designs. That's all I had, and I managed to raise $5,000. If I would have just gone for the first issue at $5,000, I would have been solid, right?
Yep.
So I kind of took that and thought, all right, well, I'm going to kind of get my head back in the game, and it took me about a year. I decided to print the first issue and just go to a con, see how it went, right?
Yep.
So I had 100 copies with me at the first con that I was at, and it was a Steel City con in Pittsburgh, and I sold out of almost all the books I had with me, and that was all I had, right? So I also had character designs that I had printed out just to fill the table.
Yeah.
So obviously I had something, there that I was able to sell almost all of the books that I took with me. So then my wife and I scraped up out of our savings for issue 2. We got issue 2 done, and come issue 3, I was like, okay, well, we don't have any savings, and we don't have enough to do it just yet. So we came back to Kickstarter after doing Tyler James's podcast, in his Comics Launch Pro.
Yep.
Where I kind of learned a little bit more about what I did wrong versus what I was also doing right. Because obviously I was doing something right, because raising $5,000 is still a lot, right?
Yep.
And so I kind of took what I was doing with what I would, put away what I was doing wrong, and then got what I learned, and came back for issue 3. I overfunded for that one. It was almost $8,000 for that. And then came back for issue 4. That one was over $12,000 funded, and issue 5, or actually I came back for the trade paperback, which was almost, I think it was 15 for that one, and then came back for issue 5, got $20,000. So basically it was just adding, building. As I was building my audience, so did, as I call my wolf pack. My wolf pack was growing, and so was the Kickstarters, and here we are for number 6. And
that's what I love about, like, I was looking at your page right now, your crowdfunding page. There's a whole section where you actually have like the nice little animated GIFs or videos, whatever, with all the people that bought the books before. Like, I think these are all like these little touches that people don't realize make a huge impact. Talk to us about that, and talk to us about this wolf pack that you got. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah. So again, a lot of it started with cons, taking pictures of people grabbing the books, and just because at first it was like they were taking pictures with me because I'm like, hey, maybe when I'm the next Robert Kirkman, right? Say, hey, I met him, right? And then it got to the point where, like, I was like, okay, well, can I take a picture of you too? Social media, social posting. I learned that was another thing I had learned. Just that it's also good to see, without me in the picture, people actually holding the books. You know what I mean? Because if I was in every single one, that'd be a little weird. So I, doing that, and then building up an email list, and just kind of talking to them, emailing back and forth with them, building more than just a fan base,
right?
Actually building a relationship with my Wolfpack members. Like, if they reply to my emails that I send out bi-weekly, I talk to him. I'll reply back and have a full-on conversation.
That's great.
Like it's again, and with anything, even through social media, like Facebook, Twitter, whatever. Like I'm very like, if they reply or they retweet or whatever, I'll thank them. I'll talk to them. Just building up. Like I said, it's not just a fan base or an audience that's just watching you. It's an actual interaction, and you're actually talking to people, and they can see that there's an actual person behind this book.
Yeah.
And I think that's a nice thing. It's a nice hand touch kind of a situation where you can be like, hey, this is real, and this person's passionate about it, and you can see that that the wolf pack is just as passionate about it, and they're hungry for more.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like how it has been building and growing, and it's just I'm super happy and amazed, but still by how large it's getting.
And are you envisioning like a whole universe for this? Because you're talking about this being a spinoff now, and it seems like you've built the foundations for that. And so what comes next after Snowpaw, or in general for this world you've created?
Right on. So with Snowpaw, it's planned, like I say, I have 200 years to play with. I plan on growing between that, kind of explaining a few things that are happening in like present time, like with Nightwolf. There are things that happen between those 200 years that lead up to a lot of things that I haven't that are there but not fully explained.
Yeah.
And then with Nightwolf, it's going to be continually moving through the future, from present to future, or as it goes along. And I have 3 other titles that I want to put out as well, whether they're mini series or just short introduction series to these characters, because there is a world-ending event that I have planned where these characters kind of all come together like Avenger style, but they really don't get along, and they're not really a team, but they kind of they're forced to be put in that situation. So that's where I kind of have it's basically a larger world universe with these characters all living in the same environments, and eventually do cross paths, but like I said, they're not a team. And they're not planned to remain a team either.
Oh, we don't know. You never know. You never know.
But again, like I said, they do have to, at one point or another, they do have to work together, like it or not.
What's the one piece of advice you would give people who are about to embark on their first Kickstarter?
I would say definitely build an audience before you start. Have an email list and or Facebook following. You got to bring. Kickstarter is the event. It's the party, place. It's the banquet hall, if you will. You have to invite the guests. If you plan on going to this banquet hall and not invite anybody, you're going to be eating alone. So yes, build up your audience. Whether it's through like a short snippet of your book to kind of show them some freebies here and there. Just put some emails together and interact with your audience. Go into Facebook groups or go into other kind of groups if you're on Discord or Twitch or wherever your social media choice. Interact with the group. Don't just throw your stuff in their face. Let it come organically.
Very, very good. Where can people back this Kickstarter? How do we get to your page?
So quick link is lonewolfcomics.com/snowpaw.
All right. Rob, thank you so much for joining us. And we are official backers of your book now as well, too. And we wish you the best of luck. It looks like you already got funded, so that's always a relief. But man, you gotta really pound the pavement to hit those stretch goals, right?
Stretch goal territory.
It's a good place to be, though, right?
Yes, very much. Yeah.
The hard part starts. The hard part starts after success. That's what they don't tell you.
Making sure, to keep reaching.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Congrats.
Always have a goal. Always have a goal.
Absolutely. Congrats and good luck. When we come back, we'll put a cap on today's episode of Rogue Wave Podcast. Welcome back to the Rogue Wave Podcast. I want to thank Rob Multeri for coming on. Go check out his Kickstarter. The book looks awesome. He shows a lot of artwork there, and Mog's artwork is amazing. Cool concept as well, too. Kind of like a werewolf meet Lord of the Rings fantasy book. So if you're into that kind of stuff, go check out his Kickstarter like he had mentioned. Go to lonewolfcomics.com/snowpaw, and you can get right to it. Or just Google Snowpaw Kickstarter. That's what I did. And we're official backers of the book now. So next week, it's I want to say it's our Halloween episode, but we're going to be covering Dune because Dune is coming, man. This is Christmas for you, right, Hassan?
We'll see.
It's Christmas with a lump of coal or with an awesome.
It's definitely Christmas season, but you never know if it's a good Christmas or not until you wake up, see how many presents are under the tree.
It's either a bike in front of your tree or a lump of coal in your stocking. We'll find out.
Yeah, well, I don't know. We don't do coal in the city, but I mean, yeah, I get what you're saying.
I can tell you right now, I will absolutely end up watching this in like 3 phases. By the way, I can just I feel like this. It's like a 3-hour movie. Like, there's no way I'm sitting through that. Or maybe I will.
Fair enough.
Ooh, we'll find out. Well, that's what happens when you release it streaming. HBO, I get to watch it the way I want to watch it. That's why I go to the theater. That's why I actually enjoy the theater because I can't go anywhere. If I go anywhere, I miss out. That's it.
Well, I mean, there's self-discipline. Also, there's that little thing, but
Yeah.
don't worry about it.
Nah.
Don't worry about it. Don't
We'll
stress.
get criticized
Don't
for it
stress
next
about
week
it.
from our guest Steve Hovecki, who's going to come on. That'll be the Halloween portion of our show next week. He's going to be talking all about his new book, McBride and Groom. It's through Rogue Matter. Go check it out. You can read the whole thing for free right now on roguematter.com. Come back next week, and we're going to talk to Steve all about it. We will see you guys next week. Rogue Wave.